Hallo agus fáilte Joseph. Seo question cádaí, conversation questions, and these cover the content of the A1 course. So when this course is delivered in classes, this lesson would be used as a follow-up to all 20 lessons. So once all 20 lessons have been completed, these questions cover the information that you should have learned through the course. Obviously, there's quite a lot of grammar introduced through the course. There's vocabulary, there's grammar, there's structures, there's verbs and their various tenses. At A1, you wouldn't be expected to learn all of that information by heart. What you would be expected to be able to do is hold a conversation covering information about yourself, daily activities, basic things that you want. So if you're hungry or you want a drink or you would like to do something, that you can communicate that information. So the best thing to aim for is to learn the structures we've introduced to talk about simple personal information about yourself. So you wouldn't learn how to use the numbers up to 100 off by heart, but you would perhaps remember your own age and some basic information about yourself that's relevant to you. So this lesson basically covers the information that you should have learned through the course and the type of conversation that you should be able to have. When this is used in a class, obviously, in pairs, you can work through this sheet and ask each other questions and answer them. If you're just working yourself, then it's still worth going over the question and the answer just out loud to help you remember it. So firstly, you might talk about how you are or how somebody else is. Cymera ha u, cymera ha cymera ha I, etc. Jane Hannemahorst idíist. So again, what's your name again? Jane Hannemahorst idíist. She Ian and Hannam Ahadam. Cymera ha and Jachkinsa. How are you this week? Cymera ha and Jachkinsa. Hami gyma, hami gadael, hami tang, hami and various adjectives that we've used, that we learned in the course. So this is covering the grammar structures, not all the vocabulary. These are the questions that you should know, and you should be able to give answers using the grammar we've learned. So this isn't going over all the vocabulary that you might have learned to give an answer. And ro sheachgin va agit. So past tense now. Did you have a good week? So was a good week at you? Remembering that sheachgin is feminine, so it lenites sheachgin va. And ro sheachgin va agit va charo. Evel u gyma. So this is a slightly different variation on cymera ha. Evel u gyma. Are you doing well? Ha chaniel. Obviously, you can elaborate on any of these. Chaniel u ski branoch trang evel. So here we're kind of stating something and then asking if that is the case. So you're not tired, are you? Chaniel u ski evel. Ha chaniel. You can ask a direct question. Evel u trang. Ha chaniel. Evel u ski. Evel u imigenach. Imigenach was nervous. Evel u imigenach. Ha chaniel. Then koas a how. Where are you from? Koas a how. Hami a glasachu. Hami as anilinskianach. So we looked at using a with a place name without the article, without the, and as when the place name does have an article. So hami a alopa. Hami as nestachenunichtje. Hami a edin. Hami as egeramach. Katje vilu efurach. Katje vilu efurach. Where are you living? Hami Efudach, Alnan Alapa. So again, the S comes in when the place name has the in front of it. Hami Efudach, Alns Egeramalt. Hami Efudach, Alns Nestachinunitje. Hami Efudach, Alns de Chymni in Wales. Hami Efudach, Aln an Erin. Hami Efudach, Aln an Sassing. So Aln an when the place name doesn't have the in front of it. So then, Jevau Jenov in Czechkinsa. Moving on to what were you doing this week? Jevau Jenov in Czechkinsa. Andueru amach ijid. So we covered past tense irregular verbs. Andueru amach ijid. Did you get out at all? Hued chadued. Hued mi amach. And then you could follow that up with chai mi koerst. I went on a walk, a trip. And ro u egopid. So we covered direct question in the past tense and then a verbal noun. So and ro u egopid. Where are you working? Va charo. Catch and ro egopid. Where were you working? Catch and ro u egopid. Fami egopid. Aun sentai. Fami egopid. Aun an office. Fami egopid. Aun an skull. So where are you working? And ro u arui ijid. Were you running at all? Did you run at all? And ro u ekoshach ijid. Were you walking at all? Va charo. And jach u gu a jisabi. And jach u gu a jisabi. Did you go to any place? Did you go anywhere? So anjach u. Did you go? Chai would be went. Yes, I went. Chajach, didn't go. So chai, and you can see where you went. Chajach. Chajach mi gu a jisabi. I didn't go anywhere. And ro u eleve krutsabi. So and ro u eleve krutsabi and Czechkinsa. Were you reading anything this week? Va charo. You could also ask that using the verb itself. So past tense of a regular verb. An do lev u. Did you read? And do lev u rutsabi. And do lev u rutsabi. Lev, had lev. Read, didn't read. Weather always comes up. Kimiraha namishid or kimiraha enchije. Eveli fluid hast. So a direct question. Is it cold still? Eveli fluid hast. Ha chanyal. Eveli che hast. Eveli fluch hast. Eveli grienach hast. So various adjectives we looked at. Eveli ro he. Is it too hot? Ha chanyal. Eveli ro uud. Eveli ro luch. So ro meaning too excessively and always low nights. So ro he, ro uud, ro luch. Past tense and ro andushke aun ijid. So was there rain at all? So now we're using nouns. So this is the two ways we looked at to talk about the weather. You can either use an adjective like cold, hot, wet, or sunny, and that just takes the basic structure ha, I, fuad. If you want to ask about a noun, so andushke, the rain, studum, we also had schneach, and green, aun, etc. If you're using a noun, it's anro or evel andushke aun. In this instance, we've asked about the past tense, so anro andushke aun ijid, va charo. You can change between those. So anro andushke aun ijid, va I uabasach fluch. So you don't need to answer the same way you've been asked. If the rain was on, it was obviously wet. an ro grianaun was their son. Va, vai grianach. Yes, it was sunny. Eveli nishar nunas missa, nevai and shachkin sechai. So we learn comparative adjectives. Nishar, better. Nesmissa, worse. Eveli nishar nunas missa, nevai and shachkin sechai. Is it, the weather, better or worse than it was the week past, the week that went, last week? Hai nishar, hai nesmissa. And talat amishid uud, and talat amishid he. So now we're asking a direct question about whether you link a certain type of weather using antal. Antal lat amishid luch. Chatal. And talat amishid he is tal. So amishid we know is feminine, so if it's cold weather, hot weather, wet weather directly, then amishid would lunite the adjective. Then moving on to other things that you link, we covered this in a lesson at J as tal lat. What do you link? J and Tanum in leor is jaar lat. What is the name? So this is a variation on J and Tanum a horst. We could also ask J and Tanum in leor is jaar lat. What is the name of your favorite book? What is the name of the book that's best with you? So that's Asyar, best, with you. So that would be represent your favorite book. She, and then the name Antanum aha eth. J Antanum eth anilm ashar lat. What is the name of the film that's best with you? What is the name of your favorite film? J Antanum anilm ashar lat. She Star Wars Antanum aha eth. J Shorse Leor as tal live or lat, so either or, depending on who you're talking to. Shorse is sort, type. So J Shorse Leor, what type of book do you like? J Shorse Leor as tal lat or live. Is talum Leorican, and then you can see what type of books you like there. In this type of exercise at A1 level, the important thing here is to know J as tal, S tal lum to answer using the correct grammatical structure. Whether you say istalum, leorican, sci-fi, romance, crime, it doesn't really matter if you use an English word here at this stage. The important thing is to practice the sentence structure in Gaelic, asking the question and giving an answer. The vocabulary can be added as you go along. And talat, novelin, so a Gaelic spelling of novels, acre or crime, sci-fi, and talat, novelin, is tal chatal. J and Kjal as talat. What music do you like? Again, you can give an answer in English. Is talum pop, rock, indie, electronic, classic, whatever. Is talum Kjal rock. Evel petiken agate. Do you have pets? Ha chanel. So evel something agate. Evel kate agate. Evel con agate. Do you have cats? Do you have dogs? And talat petiken. So again, do you link? And talat petiken. And talat kate. And talat con is tal chatal. We also talked about colours. J and da is lat. She jerag is lum. So we can try and think back if we remember any of the colours. Jerag, red, garum, blue. J and da a sharlat. What is your favourite colour? Bí agus deoch, food and drink. You might want to talk about that. And the gich u géiniad ron chlas. So again, a regular verb in the past tense. We looked at those. And do gich, did you eat? And the gich u géiniad ron chlas, before the class. Gich cha de gich. J biag is talat. What food do you like? Is talum. And again, you can say biag alabanoch, Scottish food, biag edalchach, or you can just insert the name of the thing you like there. And talat iasc, so direct question about food. And talat iasc, do you like fish? And talat fial, meat. And talat glasrich, vegetables. And talat messen, fruits. Istal chatal. And ye biag alabanoch a sharlat. So is it Scottish food that is best with you, that you prefer? And ye biag edalchach a sharlat. Do you prefer Italian food? She biag alabanoch a shar noom. And biag giche fial idid. Cursan. So do you eat meat at all? Do you eat? So and be as a habitual action, we covered that. The future tense used habitually. And biu egihe fial idid. Do you eat meat at all? Be chavi. And you could say why. Evelu ekrechin guvel fial ma. Evelu ekrechin. So we did, do you believe? Evelu esmunjachug. To talk about, do you believe, do you think? Gu vel, so linking a clause to the first statement. Do you think that meat is good? Or joch, or whatever you like, glasig, ma. And biu egal joch lajid. So again, habitual future. And biu egal joch lajid. Do you drink strong drink? So joch lajid would be alcohol in Gaelic. Be chavi. And talat fian, lún, ishgebehe. Do you like wine, beer, whiskey? J and joch asjar rat. She ishgebehe isjar lún. I prefer whiskey. Whiskey's my favourite. Cat and biu egal. Where do you drink? Cat and biu egal. Be me egal eg and tai. Be me egal eg tai sheintje. Be me egal ed nisragen. Wherever you might be drinking. Evel u a smoontje could be down je egal kus inish. I've missed u there. Evel u a smoontje can be down je egal kus inish. Are you thinking that people drink too much now? So the question, evel u a smoontje ha chanel. Here we're linking a future habitual to a present thing. So evelu is smoontje. Are you thinking that people drink too much now? Evelu ekrechin can be joch, guvel joch donna. So evelu ekrechin guvel joch donna. So again, present tense both. So we're answering ha chaniel to this vel. Evelu ekrechin. Are you believing that drink is bad? That would be understood as alcohol in that context. J ishar, lún no ishgebehe. So you can ask about two things, comparing them. J ishar, what is best, beer or whiskey? She ishgebehe as yar. So different from English. In English you might say which is better of the two. but in Gaelic you always say what is best of the two options. It's uisce beithe, it's whiskey that's best. Bhfuil obair nó curseachad in agad. So we covered work. Again, you might want to learn your own work situation, whether you have a job, whether you're not employed, whether you're retired, in which case you might want to talk about your hobbies here. So, an bí u ag obair iad. So, habitual future, are you working at all? Do you work at all? Bí chaví. Again, you can add your answer here if you wish. Cat and bí ag obair. Where do you work? Future habitual. Bí mi ag obair ag an tae. Bí mi ag obair ag scoil. Bí mi ag obair ag office, wherever it is you're working. And again, if you don't know the workplace, the important thing is cat and bí mi ag obair, so that you're answering the verb correctly. And bí u ag obair, do you work? Bí mi ag obair, I do work. And then ag theatre, ag cinema. You don't need to worry at this stage about having all the vocabulary. We're trying to practice sentence structures and answering verbs and that type of thing. J in obair a bheith agad. So for people who no longer work, perhaps retired, J in obair a bheith agad. Sé teachid a bheith unum. Sé ailtere a bhunum. Sé dochtar a bhunum. A bhfuil curseachad in agad. Do you have hobbies? Ha curseachad in agam. Chanja. Am I leishk. J vis to a déanamh. So future, relative future here. What do you do? J vis to a déanamh. Bí mi ag clúiche guitar. If your partner isn't forthcoming with an answer here, you can ask a direct question. Bí u a rú? Bí chaví? Do you run? Yes, no. Bí u a déanamh yoga? Bí chaví? Bí u ag clúiche? Bí u a shine? So a lot of the verbal nouns that we discussed when we looked at hobbies. Again, you can ask about what's better out of things. J is shear, rugby, no ball chosha. Rugby or football. Sé rugby is shear. Regular verb in the past tense, and do ched. Did watch is a question. And do ched u, did you watch? Móran a television. And you may want to add an seachcinsa this week, or in Jew, or in J, whatever. And the ched u móran television. Ched, chad a ched. So watched, didn't watch. And ro rutsa be ma in television. Again, you may want to specify when. Va charo. J na programming is talat. What are the programs that you like? Is talam programming, and then you can just say nature or soaps or whatever. Evelu elevig rudsabi adrasta. Evelu elevig rudsabi adrasta. Are you reading anything just now? Ha chaniel. J and hanam irin leor a ha u elevig. So I've got an leor and elevig underlined, so you could ask about other things there. But what is the name on the book that you're reading? Sé Rusk Gaelic and Hanam Ahead. It's the name that is on it. Teolach, we spoke about that latterly in the course. Evel teolach agat. Do you have family? Evel defarent in agatast. Do you still have your parents? Ha panet in agam hast. Ha movahed agam. Ha mahed agam. Cat evel dahed a fudach. Ha fudach an the glasige. Caite fel dylfahed y ffyrwch. They might not live together. Ha I y ffyrwch alnan Obrach. So, I, if you ask about caite fel dylfarent yn y ffyrwch, ha iad y ffyrwch awn synil yn sgianach. Co as a ha iad, co as a va iad, ha va I iad, whatever it is you're talking about, a Obrach from Aberdeen. Ha iad a Glasgow, ha iad as anil yn sgianach. Jane hanam edd dahed, she canyach and hanam aha edd. So asking the names of family members. J and Hannam edd, J and Hannam edd y fahed. She Mary and Hannam aha udde. So edd udde. And the question there, J and Hannam edd the vahed. I'm missing out a ha there, mainly to save space. It's optional. J and Hannam edd dahed. J and Hannam aha edd dahed is the type of thing you might drop in speech. So there's an implied aha edd there. Efel brahed no pure agate. Efel brahed no pure agate. Ha, and then we talked about ha da vrahed agam. Ha da vrahed agus pure agam. Or chaniel. Cat efel iad yn y ffyrwch. Where do they live? Ha I iad y ffyrwch. And then again, alnan, wherever. Co as a ha I iad, probably the same place you're from. Ha I iad a, wherever. J and Hannam edd the vrahed. J and Hannam edd the fewed. What's the name on your brother? What's the name on your sister? Again, she, whatever. And Hannam a head odde. Efelu paste, are you married? Ha chaniel. Efel clown agate. Qui aviat clown? So efel clown agate, do you have children? Qui aviat clown? How many children? Remembering that children, clown is a collective term, so it's always plural, children. You can answer that. Ha clown agam, I have children. You can be more specific. Ha mac agus nian agam, I have a son and a daughter. Cat efel essen ishe iad yn y ffyrwch. So essen, him, with stress. Ishe, her, with stress. Iadsen, them, with stress. Cat efel essen y ffyrwch. J and Hannam edd the vach. J and Hannam edd y nian agad. Cymmer a ha Duilleagan. How are they? How are your family? Shul, I guess, canin. Traveling in languages. Co and Duilleagan a Charlotte. Which country is your favorite? Co and Duilleagan a Charlotte. She a Nedalch a Charlotte. Italy's my favorite. She Alapa a Charlotte. Scotland's my favorite. Carson as Talat a Duilleagan shin. Why do you like that country? Is Tullum Alapa ha I ma. Cat and Jachu mi yerig. Where did you go last? Chai mi gu Sassin. Chai mi don edalch. Depending on what country it was you went to. Chai mi don geramalch. So you would typically use don if the place name has the in front of it, and gu if it doesn't. So chai mi gu Erin. I went to Ireland. Chai mi gu Sassin. I went to England. Chai mi don rang. I went to the France. And Jachu Anul Hadish and Bliana. Did you go abroad this year? And Jachu Anul Hadish and Bliana. Chai Chajach. If it's chai, you could say chai mi don Garamalt. I went to Germany. And Jacru don edalt Eliv. Did you ever go to Italy? Chai chajach. And Jacru gu Paris Eliv. Chai chajach. Most place names in Europe, like Berlin, Madrid, would just be as they are in English. Some, like Paris and Roy for Rome, have names in Gaelic. Most not. So, and Jachu, did you go? Chai chajach. But you could also use amfachke in this situation. So, amfachke to Berlin Viv. Did you ever see Berlin? Chunig chanachke. Chunig mi Berlin. Va uabasach ma. Amfachke to, and then you could add in a word in English here if it's the pyramids, the Louvre, or whatever. Amfachke to Viv. Chunig chanachke. So, didn't see. If we a kretjen gebeurt het dal en nul haddish and naflinde. So are you believing, do you believe that you will be going abroad next year? And naflinde. Ha, be me a dull, and then wherever you might be going, Chaniel, chavi me a dull to be. So no, I don't believe that. I won't be going anywhere. If can in illa agat. Do you have other languages? Ifil canin illa agat. Ha Gaelic agam. Agus ha Gaelic Nahirin agam. I have Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic. Ha Geramiltish agam. I have German, or just Chaniel. Kiaviet canin agat. How many language do you have? Kiaviet, always singular in Gaelic. And then you can answer ha da canin agam, ha tri canin agam. Jas asa Gaelic no björle. Jas asa Gaelic no björle. Which is easier, Gaelic or English? So asasa, which is easiest, Gaelic or English? She Gaelic asasa. Co and canin is Charlotte. Which language is your favourite? Well, good Jevinia. She Gaelic is Charlotte. So Mierik ha Awapa Chian and Biaun and Glaun is Nangashgach. So Scotland, the land of the mountains, of the glens, and of the heroes. So this is a toast. You raise a glass and say Slàinte. The Awapa Chian and Biaun and Glaun is Nangashgach. So some stuff about Scotland. And Talat Awapa Je Hama Muyain. Do you like Scotland? What is good about it? Is tal hai bria chatal hai fluch, depending on whether you link it or not. Jane written alabanach is talat. Is talum kjal, is talum Gaelic, is talum tagish, is talum ishgebehe, things you might like from Scotland. Jane written alabanach nach talat. What are the Scottish things you don't like? Chatalum anushke. I don't like the rain. Chatalum evenav chulak. Antalat tagish. Istal chatal. Antalat tarsten. Antalat ishke behe. So direct questions about things you might like. And you geistach mikal Gaelic. Do you listen to Gaelic music? Be chavi. Again, past tense irregular verbs. Amfachke, did see. Amfachke to brave. Amfachke to braveheart. Amfachke to braveheart. Amfachke to Rob Roy. Chunig. Chanachke. Chunig me braveheart. Vaima. Chanachke me brave. And Kuola to, did you hear? And Kuola did hear. And Kuola to Runrig. And Kuola to Manrang. Did you hear Runrig? Did you hear Manrang? These are Scottish bands. Chorwa, chorwa mi runrig, ach cha chorwa mi manran. Am fach getu alapa e cliche balchoshe itje. Did you see Scotland playing football at all? Chanachke, I guess hami glei hangal. I didn't, and I'm very thankful. Chunig, hayat lavazach. I did see, they're terrible. Evel alapa ma no donna et balchoshe. Giving the game away, hayat lavazach. So evel alapa ma no donna, good or bad, ed. And ma is good on football. That's how we say good at football in Gaelic. J is aarste, bein nevish, no bein lomen. So J is aarste, what is tallest? Bein nevish, no bein lomen. Ben nevis or ben lomend. Che bein nevish is aarste. Evel loch nish na smoa na loch lomen. Ha loch nish na smoa. Depends how you measure them. You can have an argument with those ones. Evel Lewis na smoa na uist. Evel Lewis na smoa na uist. Ha Lewis na smoa. So that's questions we should be able to ask and answer at this stage. It's worth going through these, making sure that you're comfortable with all the structures. Maybe having a look back at the lessons for things that you're not clear about. And the PDF for this will be available via the link in the description below the video. So we'll take a look at some of the other resources that are available now that we've finished the actual lessons at this stage of the course, which are all available in the Google Drive. So here we have me, who am I? The difficulty with a lot of the basic questions that we learn in Gaelic classes is that we answer them fairly quickly. If you're attending a class, everybody knows your name. So we tend to talk a lot about the weather, perhaps. How are you this week? That type of thing. But we don't ask as often Jane Hannah Marst and then give an answer. We don't ask Koa Sahai every week because we know we don't ask Katja Fudach. So this exercise just gives a chance to ask questions and give an answer, not the correct answer. So if you're teaching a class or you're working with partners, you can cut these out and give them to people in the class. Here we just have some information about people. So Anyam, Alistair. So obviously we need to ask Jay and Hannam a horst. Shay Alistair and Hannam a hodam. Car means condition or state. So that's how Alistair is feeling. Kimera how Alistair. Hami Scanyam Tang. If you're working in pairs, you could choose one each and then return the questions. Kimera how hein. O Hami Wavazach. Amishid. So whatever Alistair is, ha I fluch. Kimera hanamishid. Hi fluch. Koasa how Alistair. Chibre, birthplace. So Alistair says, Hami a Stornoway. I'm from Stornoway. Ach Katja a Fudach. So Fudich, dwelling place. Katja a Fudach. Hami a Fudach and a Dunedin. I'm living in Edinburgh. Jane Opera Hackett, Alistair. She teacher a Hunum. I'm a teacher. Tull, J.S. Tull, that. So Tullin is lengths, Tullin. So J is Tullat, Alistair, is Tullin cake, agus te, cake and tea. Evel pet agate, not evel petic in agate. Ha da chat agam. Remember da singular, da chat, tri ketch. J in the Alistair, ha mi coig dig ed ichet, bliana I am 15 on 20 years of age, or Hami Trichid Sekoik Blina Egeus and 35. Evel clown agit alasted. Ha Mac agus Nian agam. You could ask about their names, you could make them up. Evel pasta, are you married? Or Evel Kayla agit, which might be more PC to ask rather than are you married? Evel pasta, are you married? Evel Kayla agit, do you have a partner? Ha mi pasta ag mari. Ha mari a ucht agus sé cáfcre a hínte. So you can give some information about your partner if you have one. Surlahin, holidays. So here we have Anudi, which is last year, and Ambliana, which is this year. So we can ask, Catch and Jahu, Anudi. Catch and Jahu, Anudi. Catch and Jahu is Surlahin, Anudi. Jaime Danet Alch. Catch a belu adult and Bliana. Catch a belu adult or Surlahin and Bliana. Where are you going on holidays this year? And Bliana, Hami adult done rang. This year I'm going to France. So you can practice with these, even if you're working on your own. You can try and remember the question. That's the point here. You're not getting either the question or the structure for the answer. You're just getting the information, which is good to help you practice. What's the question I ask to get how somebody's feeling? What's the question I ask to get what age somebody is? You need to then think of the question and then think how to structure your answer. So this is a good sheet for practicing the simple conversation elements that you should definitely know at A1 level. There's also a few worksheets, work plans that you can access in the Google Drive. These are similar to things that appeared in the lessons. So if you want to practice what time is it? There's the clocks that we saw and a bit of revision information as to how you give an answer to what time it is. We also have Anjach U, Kinye, so destinations. So the questions we saw about places you might have been using past tenses of verbs. Rein, Rein, Chai, Chajach, Njach, those type of things with some destinations. So again, this appeared in one of the lessons, but it exists as a worksheet as well for practice. One thing that we've seen introduced in the lessons, but we didn't really cover as a grammar point, is the vocative case. So you'll have noticed in some of the lessons when we address somebody, Seamus becomes Hamish, Mary becomes Evari. So like when we say, "Oh Lord" in English, the O there is a kind of old vocative. In Gaelic, we add this before the name when you cry out to somebody, Hamish. And the names change in various ways. So this sheet explains that concept here. So with feminine names and words, we just lenite. Mari becomes Evari, just lenites the initial letter where possible. Obviously, vowels can't lenite, and neither do L, N, or R. Male names also slenderize. So this is the sound at the end of the word changes to a slender sound. So Seamus, we add the A, we lenite, H, so Seamus becomes Hamish, and then Seamus becomes Hamish. So the S changes to a slender sound. The A here that we see before names drops with names that begin with a vowel. So you don't say Ian, Alice, you just say Ian, Alice. Both those names start with a vowel, so they drop the A, and they also end in a slender vowel, so you can't change the endings. So Ian and Alistair don't change. Ian, Alistair, no change to those in the vocative. So there's some names here, and you can practice writing in a sentence following the pattern given above. That's a useful exercise to get your head around the vocative case when addressing people. The vocative case also applies to nouns. It's not just used with names. Obviously, names are themselves nouns, proper nouns. There's some common nouns that we might use in the vocative case. You don't tend to do this with every noun. You would only do it with the ones that are used an awful lot. Probably two of the most common words, nouns to use in the vocative are bailach and carriage. Bailach, boy. So you often say avalich, which in Gaelic is commonly used like lad to even somebody who's not a boy. So you might say, Kimera how, avalich. How are you, lad? How are you, boy? To a friend or an adult your own age. It isn't used specifically with boys. And you would say carriage, carriage. So a carriage, friend, in the vocative. So that's used an awful lot in Gaelic. Kimera how, a carriage. How are you, friend? So again, some words here that you can try and use in a sentence in the vocative case, following the rules. So masculine words, bailach, carriage, boranach, fianach, cat, coo, bodach, gilje, bumeler, blekerst, tierne. There's some feminine words in there like nian, which wouldn't change. Kalak, girl, feminine, so we'd only Lanite. Kalak, Chaliach, Kaliach, old women. So you'll have to look up these words to get the gender and then work out how they would be in the vocative case. As I say, the main ones that you're going to use, everybody uses carriage, echarage, bailach, evalich is very, very common. So that's a good exercise to do if you want to practice the vocative case. Lastly, we have a sheet on the article in Gaelic. So we looked at this in a couple of the lessons where we saw the masculine article in the nominative and dative case, and we also introduced the feminine article in nominative and dative case. We haven't looked at the genitive case at A1, so this column should be ignored at this stage. All we've seen is masculine, nominative, and dative, feminine, nominative, and dative. So this is just the this is good just to print out and have as a reference. It's the table that appeared in the lesson on this topic. So we see what the article is with words starting with these letters. So a masculine singular noun in the nominative case starting with a BFMP is am barged, am fair, am, and then with vowels you get the T, so andishke, a word that's masculine, singular, starting with a vowel, and then everything else is and. Feminine, masculine and dative moves to follow the pattern for feminine, which we saw in the lesson. So B, C, G, M, P, all take A apostrophe and Lanite, the letter. So ambarged, evarged. F, pretty much the same. It tends to leave the AN and then Lanite. SL, SN, SR, S plus a vowel, all take ante. And then everything else just takes an. So the vowel you see with antishke, ans, an, ishke. The T goes away, this vowel column disappears and goes into the other column here, which is, as we can see here, the exact same rule for the feminine singular nominative. And this feminine singular nominative doesn't change in the dative, all that happens is you slenderize the words where possible. So again, if you need to go over these rules, go back to the lessons and go through the lessons on those specific points. But this file has examples. So masculine nominatives and then datives. So uske fuer, almen uske fuer, and tuske fuer, alns and uske fuer, balach moor, le balach moor, am balach moor, lish de balach moor. We didn't really cover the adjectives here in the lessons, so if you just focus on the antushke, ansanushke part, ambalach, lish, avalach. And again, we didn't look at genitives, so don't worry about these. Again, with feminine nouns, we have anunyag, vor, eg, anunyag, vor. So unyag becomes unyig, slenderizes. Evrog, ansevroig, and regerst, lish and regerst, can't change, it's already slender. And tli, and tli, can't change, it's already slender. And try, egg and try, can't change, already slender. Echlaun, lish, echlain. So remembering that some of these feminine ones had a special form where the vowels change entirely. But again, refer to the lesson if you need any more information on that. You need to go over it. So there's a kind of star beside some of these. You'll see at the bottom explained that traditionally the dative case applied even without the article. So aln, am, broig, ig, it would have been traditionally. So ig, unig, vor. Traditionally, the dative case applied to nouns with and without the article. These days, it's typically just left unaltered without the article and follows the slenderizing pattern with the article. So you will see both. You will see slenderization without the article. That's just something to be aware of. And then we didn't really cover plurals in the lessons, so you can come on to this later on in the course. So this file is great to print out and have as a reference through your learning journey. You will be referring to this file and these sheets through A1, A2, B1. By B2, hopefully these rules are making sense. Doesn't mean you will never make a mistake. Everybody does, but at least you have a firm understanding by the end of B2 of these rules. So this is not something that anybody's learning at A1 of a Gaelic course. It's something that you become familiar with over the course of your learning. So this is a very important file to print out and refer to constantly. So Shinagave, that's the additional files for A1 of the course. We'll leave it there and we'll move on to the A2 lessons shortly. So tap live, agus bianach live in Drasta.